Today at Let's Talk Marketplace, we talked about
how to get money for your marketplace products. Private label retailer Ann-Kristin Lipsky and Joep Backx from the merchandise financing provider Storfund tell us more about how liquidity is a huge bottleneck for your marketplace growth and how to deal with this problem.
Look forward to lots of honesty and real talk on money. Have fun listening. Let's Talk Marketplace.
The Marketplace podcast with Ingrid and Valerie Dichtel.
Hello and welcome everyone. Let's Talk Marketplace is back, and furthermore, Valerie is back. So, my dear, welcome to the grey skies and coconut-free food of Munich. So, how is the transition after, I think, 5 weeks in Indonesia treating you?
Yeah, well, Vietnam and Indonesia, I would say it's pretty cold. I can finally air dry my hair or like hair dry. Well, no, to be very honest, it's jet lag still hits me. It's in German we would say jammern auf hohem Niveau. So I'm really glad I have been there and I had the opportunity to work from abroad and remote, which is what we are always like how we work in our whole company. And now I'm back to the event season actually.
Just on time. Next week, starting off with e-commerce expo in Berlin and with our very own Connect event. So and then I looked at our calendar and it doesn't stop until July.
No. Maybe a small break in March, but it's really getting hot now, and I think also this is about our topic today. So what do we talk about today, Ingrid?
Hot it is, definitely. We're talking about money. So to be more specific about financing and managing working capital for a marketplace seller business. After all, it's one of the biggest factors which hinders growth in online retail is the fact that a lot of your capital is bound in your assortment. And it takes several weeks before the money you make in a sale reaches your account, even more weeks if you sell on a marketplace. At the same time, you need all that free capital to order new products. So bit of problem here.
Yeah, definitely. And this is really one of retail's all-time favorite conundrums. Great that we have two people on the show today who are willing to discuss this problem with us in detail. So a very warm welcome to Ann-Kristin Lipsky, multi-brand owner and founder of her brand building company AF Global Trading and Consulting and her US expansion company Supersonic Brands. And Joep Backx, sales director of the Dutch merchandise financing service StoreFund. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's really great to have you both here. And before we dive deep into merchandise financing, we should introduce you to our audience a bit more in detail. And therefore, I have like my 3 usual questions. But I would say, ladies first. So, Ann-Kristin, who are you?
I'm Ann-Kristin. I am 43 years old. I'm from Hamburg, Germany, and I've been, in various stations and positions in my life, coming from a classical corporate career and then actually exiting due to my high volume of kids that I actually created, but I don't even know how that happened in that extent, but it happened. And so after I found out that I was pregnant with my twins, I actually decided that I would pursue the entrepreneurial route as I was lacking flexibility and control already in my corporate life, and I didn't have any fantasy or vision how I would actually do that with 4. So basically, yes, and then I've been very blessed in the last couple of years that actually whatever I did, due to obviously a certain amount of risk, friendliness, but also making probably good choices and decisions on expansion and different marketplaces. I came to the current situation where I have like multiple businesses in one in Germany and one in the States that are actually operating quite fine.
That's really impressive and
really cool.
Really cool, because we are really lacking of like female role models who are also mothers and really.
It's I actually, I've been just to maybe hit it off right there. I've been to Berlin 2 weeks ago. And it was so interesting to see how so many people approached me, and also it's either women, but also different parties that just said, it's so interesting how Germany and Europe, we don't have this kind of entrepreneur profile a lot. There are not that many women, and especially moms with, well, obviously a whole bunch of kids, and actually the ones exiting their corporate career and then maybe making multiple 7 figures. This combination is basically not existent. Right. So why is that so? And maybe you should talk about this more often. And so, it's always, I'm a little bit biased, women also have that imposter syndrome where you always think, it's not good enough. I need to make like at least 10 million and then I can, talk about it.
It's not that impressive, multiple companies, everyone has those.
Exactly.
Doesn't know this either.
No, never.
We don't discuss this topic at all.
It's a typical thing. I hate that actually. But so maybe
so great you're here.
That's a good intro.
Okay. I would say this also answered already questions. What do you do best? So, Joep, sorry, like the man in the round. Usually it's like quite the opposite, right? So first, to you, who are you, Joep?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the show, first of all. So who am I? So I'm Dutch. You've already mentioned that. I live in the Netherlands. I'm only 25%. If it comes to kids, I'm only at 25% of where Anne is. I've got a little...
No challenge.
Who knows? I still have some time. But no, I've got a little baby daughter. She's turning 1 on Friday, actually. So I've always worked in payments and e-commerce. So I think when I was 23, I moved to London after graduation. Thought I'd give it a try in a big city. Worked for World First, which is a foreign exchange payments company, for about 7 years. So my first role, it was headset on in the middle of the city, 100+ outbound calls. It was all about sales and acquiring new e-commerce businesses and helping them basically with bank accounts, with funding, and progressed throughout my career there, leading the European team from our Amsterdam office. And after that, I knew that I wanted to work for smaller businesses, startups, scale up, to really make, I'd say, an impact, which is something that I'd love to do. And at some point, I came together again with the person that hired me 10 years ago at World First, who's now also one of the leaders, I'd say, within Storfund. I've been with the company for about 1.5 years now, and I haven't regretted it ever since.
Sounds really like a good choice.
To me, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's most important, right? So, just like to follow up with our interview, small one. Ann-Kristin, how important are marketplaces for your multiple businesses?
Well, I can actually admit that I am a marketplace only seller. So basically, I do have a Shopify store.
I saw it.
And it's working, actually. I know it's working, but it's, it's not, it's, to be honest, I've been talking about the Shopify store with different parties for the past 2 years. The thing is, my current product range does not really make sense on a Shopify store. So the amount or the percentage is like closer to, I don't know, 0.5% of my revenue that goes into Shopify. So we don't put any effort and strategy in there. It's more like yes, we are real. Yes, this is a brand that you can trust. It's more like a business card, to be honest, and not more. So everybody who's going in my store and says, oh my God, it's not SEO optimized. Oh my God, there's no Google traffic on it. Oh my God, you don't have a social strategy. Yeah, I know. I know. And I am happy to say that until now, it was not necessary, but I'm learning. And the thing is, now we are at a point where this whole aspect of a true brand building when it comes to product range is going to happen a lot more in 2025 because we've expanded a lot in different countries. So basically expansion is always part of it. I mean, UK is this year a big feature or like a big plan, which we haven't untapped yet, but product diversification and product range enlargement is like the next thing. So then, and this is what everybody kept telling me, whenever I have a shopping basket strategy, right? If people are actually buying multiple products, the AOV goes up, then it makes sense. But for my products, which are like somewhere between, I don't know, $19.99 and at the most $25, it's just too expensive to put traffic in there and to create any kind of traction in the store. So my revenue is coming like almost 100% from marketplaces, and with all the beauty and all the challenges connected to that.
And is that mostly Amazon, or do you use other marketplaces as well?
It is mostly Amazon, just because the product category I'm in is just a very Amazon driven niche. But the thing is, I always said, just coming from my former career or positions, that I think the customer wants to buy what they want to buy. And so we always kind of said, actually, I want to be everywhere, on every marketplace, because this product is bought on every marketplace. But the reality is the percentage also here is quite high. So we are like below, so Amazon is just the dominating marketplace, right? So we are selling on Otto.de, Kaufland.de, even eBay, and then we just initiated a cooperation or like a partnership with a provider that is actually helping me on all the marketplaces in Europe, but also in the States. So we did started selling, and it's actually quite an interesting, very successfully for my little story, on Bol, which is, I think, for like the usual German seller, it's not that common, but Bol is actually a very interesting marketplace. I mean, Joep, you know it. They have local authority, and we've made quite okay numbers on that since we partnered. It's actually OmniDoc I work with, and so they kind of create that leverage on all the marketplaces, and I have like a no pain setup right now, because my biggest pain on other marketplaces was always the integration. We used plenty markets, we did all these things, it was very complicated, and like caused friction, to be honest, like in my small team, because I always didn't really build up a capacity for this, and so it was lots of trouble with low revenue, so it doesn't really feel, that makes it feel a little painful, and now it's like pain-free. And so we did start on Walmart, and then we will add Target over there. So it's like we will go on, and they also have a strategy for Macy's. So I think the diversification and the leveraging of all these marketplaces is just going to be a vital factor also in the States. I mean, Walmart is already like picking up quite well.
Cool.
Wow. Okay, we come to more about that later. So, tell us maybe in 2 sentences, who is StoreFund and what service do you offer?
So StoreFund is a liquidity tool, is how we call it, for e-commerce businesses selling on marketplaces. So in essence, marketplaces will hold on to funds for a specific period of time, because of course, if you buy a product as a buyer, right, and the next day or the day after, I might want to send the product back as a refund, or maybe there's a dispute, marketplaces will always want to keep funds on the account of the seller, right? So those funds are never paid out directly. Now, the purpose of what we do is basically to shorten cash cycles for businesses. So the quicker they can get their hands around their cash again, the quicker they can turn it around, buy inventory, and sell more. And for some marketplaces, I'd say the wait is only a couple days, but a lot of marketplaces out there, there's still a wait for sellers like Ann to wait for 14 to 30 days to actually get the money out after selling the product, which is a long time waiting on your cash. And until that moment, you can get your cash again. You're basically sitting on your hands waiting to restock. And at that moment, if you can't keep up with demand, competitors will, right, in this landscape. So that's it wasn't 2 sentences, but that's what we do, and that's, I think, what we solve for a lot of businesses out there.
Yeah, it's really if you don't use it right, it's really blocking your scalability, right, and your growth. So why do we have like Ann-Kristin here today, Joep, as a guest as well?
Yeah, so Ann and I have been working together for quite some time. And Ann is, of course, a marketplace seller on Amazon, where we support her. But I think maybe Ann is even best situated to answer the question, like, why did I join StoreFund? Right? I mean, we target, of course, businesses like Ann in supporting them with freeing up the cash that is stuck on the marketplace. But Ann, maybe it's a better question to you to answer why you've chosen to use us.
I would keep now a spoiler and put this in the main part.
Yeah, we're starting out with that, I guess.
What we can say is Ann is using StoreFund, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll dive deeper into that later on in the show. So for now, great to have you here, and thanks for introducing yourselves in a bit more detail. And I'm looking forward to your insights into financing and how you work together. But before we do that, let's have a short look at what happened last week in the marketplace world after having a very quick advertising break, in which we would like to introduce you to our new sponsor, MediaMarktSaturn.
With a turnover of 22.4 billion euros, MediaMarktSaturn is one of Europe's leading consumer electronics retailers. Since launching its marketplace in Germany in 2020, the company has been pursuing an international strategy and is now represented in Spain, Austria, Italy, and the Netherlands. Belgium and Poland will follow in 2025.
Their range includes around 2 million products in categories such as IT and TV, household, gaming, and more. IT hardware is the top seller, accounting for about 40% of their sales. And their range is continuously being expanded to new categories to reach new target groups.
Yeah, and for retailers, brand trust and high reach are particularly interesting in Germany alone. MediaMarktSaturn attracts over 100 million monthly visitors. In addition, MediaMarktSaturn offers comprehensive omnichannel integration, which is more than 1,000 stores in Europe. Via Space as a Service, it will soon also be possible to pick up marketplace products directly at the store.
With additional services such as easy marketplace integration and individual support, MediaMarktSaturn makes it easier for its approximately 1,600 retailers to do business on the marketplace. In addition, there is also retail media offers such as sponsored ads, for example. In 2024, GMV of the marketplace was around 200 million euros, an increase of 100% over the previous year. And if you want to know more, check out our show notes, where you will find a link to a detailed marketplace portrait. Okay, that's that. Then I guess let's have a look into what happened last week. And there we can have first a look at what Amazon presented. Maybe Ann-Kristin has a few insights on that. Giving me the looks.
Newsflash.
Well, you might have seen that Amazon presented their figures for 2024 last week. Their net sales increased by 11% to some 638 billion in 2024, sorry. And their net income nearly doubled last year. And of course, AWS is still the cash cow with a growth of 19% plus. But sales business has also been doing quite well. International sales especially grew by 9%. Big part of that growth comes, of course, from retail media, the strongest growth factor in Amazon's figures for the last years and also for 2024. So overall, a good year, actually, for Amazon, albeit not a great one, which also showed in the stocks, I guess. Maybe, Valerie, better not look at your stocks at the moment.
Well, actually, I had a look at my stocks and they're performing quite well.
They did, because in the beginning, after they came out with the figures, they had a drop there in their shares.
Yeah, but
maybe that has
But they grew
out.
so much in the last quarter that that was always already on an all-time high. So and let's see. how it will be in 2025, right? I think also like seeing Jeff Bezos at the election in the, how do I say, like when Trump became president, Jeff was also there. So I think there will be a lot of like push additional to Amazon in the future. Let's see. But yeah, and what would you say?
So how was the year for you, for example, as an Amazon seller? Was that a good year, 2024, if you compare it to the years before? Or
I have to differentiate a little bit, I have to say. I think... so there's a different picture between Europe and the US right now for me. So Europe has been very competitive in 2024. I had to be honest, my personal struggle because I had an incident in the end of 2023 that influenced a lot my year of 2024 because I got taken down by a competitor. And so it was just my European store suffered quite, not the store actually, but me personally. I mean, we ramped it up immediately. It was like it was actually magic that it happened so fast. But it was a lucky consolation because I had a container coming in when it happened, and so we were able to actually repack the entire container in a couple of days. Like 20,000 units were repacked in a couple of days and like different charges, and then we sent it in. Although everything was blocked, like the entire assortment was blocked in the FBA warehouse, and it was like the week before Black Week. It was tough, to be honest. So, but that had quite big effects on my 2024 in Europe. So I cannot even say that unbiased because I think if I would have had a normal year, I would have had already more products. The backlash of something like this happening on a structure like mine is quite high, to be honest, or big, because obviously product development suffers. Market expansion, like UK, I wanted to do it last year. It all suffered. So basically, to be honest, my year of 2024 in business and personal matters, to be honest, it could have been better, and I was happy that it was over. But in the meantime, because But
it sounds challenging,
it was a big challenge, to be honest. And in the same time, and this was my silver lining during this year, was the States. So I actually was very happy that I had my second entity over there, kind of giving me rest or peace of mind just to be able to stand this through, right?
Yeah, well, that's something that you really don't want to have right before high season. But
unfortunately, it happens. And especially in Germany, to be honest, I don't like the culture. It is a big problem that people are rather fighting each other with, at least I would say, yes, if you give them the opportunity, there is a potential to be taken down. I wasn't aware, so I wasn't never acting on I don't know, as if I actually assumed this could happen or I knew. And it was a minimum violation against terms of service because I had a question in my thank you card that was not be aware, sellers compliance, product compliance, packaging compliance, product compliance. It's horrible. You can be taken down so easily, and it's really a big risk that not many people are aware of enough. And in Germany, if somebody really wants to get to you, they will do it. And this is, I have the feeling it's a very German thing to do. In the States, I'm not hearing these many stories of like competitors fighting each other with means like this. I have the feeling the entrepreneurial mindset there is different, as in, I'm not going to destroy you. I might tackle you, but I'm not going to destroy you by blocking you entirely. But this is just my perception on it. But yeah, so 2024, okay.
Let's move on.
I survived by any means, and I think but these are the stories as well, and everybody needs to be aware that this is just not only 7 figures, like the where's my Lambo. No, it's not, right? It's challenging.
Not that easy,
It's lots of risk, and it's really it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, I could add a story like that as well right now, but it is. And I would say also that resilience is a big attitude or like character, what you need to have if you are an entrepreneur, right? And and then it's good if you always also have a backup, right? So with Ingrid, I think we are bombing your news. Flash, right?
It happens, but it's right. I just keep it short then, because there's maybe just one thing that I would like to touch upon, because a bit more has become known about the pricing policy which Temu enforces towards their European retailers who now want to sell on the platform, as it's possible to do that since last August. And now it has become clear that Temu says the maximum acceptable price that retailers can call has to be 15% lower than on Amazon. It's been questioned if this kind of influence by the platform operator on the retailer's sales price is legally permitted, but, well, let's be honest, Amazon hasn't been doing anything else in the last years, because there you have to at least match the lowest price for your product on the market or risk losing the buy box. So, anyway, but 15% lower than Amazon, that's quite a thing to do, I guess. Yeah. Is that something that people can even match? Is that even, something that you can realize a profit on?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Look, I think it's the local to local approach. I think it's good that they're going that route, but I'm not sure if a demand like that is going to create adoption across the businesses in Europe. So we'll need to see how that plays out, but I think it's quite bold.
Yeah.
And as a brand, it's also, to be honest, even if we're a private label brand and not like a high street brand, but in the end, you still need to watch it because people are comparing, right? And so I would say right now the pricing within Amazon on products, especially also like mine, is very competitive already. So I think it's a good thing to do. I have a friend of mine, an entrepreneur who sells high-priced products, and they have a different calculation on it. But the lower commodities, I think, and there it could be an interesting thing to do, just to serve more people in different target groups. I think it's always a good thing. But I think on the lower price products, which already have a very tight calculation, it's a very hard thing to do in my point of view.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we will discuss this in more detail next week, because there we have our guest Valentin Haus on the show, and he has connected several customers of his agency to the German Temu marketplace, and he might know more about this and how calculation works. So looking forward to that. Yeah, so I guess we just keep it short and simple for the news today, and let's go over to the topic of the week and talk a bit more about financing.
Topic of the week.
Right. Well, let's come back to the question that we postponed to Anne. So, Anne, why did you choose to work with a product financer like Storfund? What was your main goal to do that?
To be honest, there are big challenges actually getting access to funding. So it is, I think it is you can look at the whole financing instruments as almost like a flower bouquet. And I would say if you need to make decisions on what you can access at what point. And being in a very early growth stage where maybe the history is not that long, maybe half a year, for example, for the States, I am not even eligible in the United States for working capital as a non-resident, as a foreigner, and as a very young company over there. So if anybody ever gets into how to build business financing scoring or like credit scoring in the United States, it's a huge system. And by the way, very interesting also for entrepreneurs because you can leverage even on an international base on this system. And you can actually, if you once leverage in there, you can get a lot of cash or access to a lot of cash once you are in that system. But I'm not in that system, and so I'm working my ways in there. And until then, there are not that many options. And to be honest, we use different forms of financing. For example, for the US growth, I actually took working capital from my German company and used it as a commodity for my US company, but that has risks, obviously, right? And so to basically use, and like I said, I'm quite risk-friendly in my personal attitude towards like, what am I doing business-wise? So at some point, you are just really, really looking for options, and StoreFund really gave me a good option in both cases, in the German case, but also in the US case. So it's like part of my portfolio, I would say.
Okay.
But I have like a question, because you always talk about your portfolio and your products, but what kind of products do you sell in?
Yeah, I mean, and this is always the question I'm trying to avoid to answer, because to be honest, yes, and this is the thing. The copycats are there, the copycats are coming, and every single time I said it in public, you can count on it 6 months later. People are saying, oh, wow, that's a good idea. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do exactly the same product. So I'm a bit hesitant, to be honest, just to put it out there like that and give it an instruction. But I'm in the bathroom niche. So I'm selling bathroom accessories and, safety products, you could say. So, yeah. But no, portfolio as in portfolio, I'm talking not about product portfolio. I'm talking about financing instruments portfolio. So what am I using to optimize my cash flow and my liquidity? And so that's what I was actually referring to when I said portfolio. Exactly.
Okay. And how is it as an entrepreneur in Germany also to get funding for products? Because I could also imagine. I mean, we also built our company last year, and if we want to have like funding, we are bootstrapped right now as well. But it's always a problem, right? And the bank asks for like, what is your last year company report, annual report? We were like, there is none yet, so we just build it. But we want to start now, and then it's like, how did that work in Germany?
Yeah, horrible, to be honest.
Could you mention?
And I have this little side story, or this little anecdote I always like to tell, especially when I started, founded my company, and I had like a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old and 2 newborns, and I actually got into this product category just out of the blue, like everybody did. We analyzed, we found the potential, and then we kind of hit it off with 3 variations, and that was it. And then all of a sudden we needed cash because it was such a big demand that we couldn't serve. And I tried to go to the banks, and then I had the weirdest conversations, because obviously the whole FBA model at that time, it was a little bit known, but for classic banks, like not known at all. So, and I was even into like talking to several banks. One was actually a female bank advisor, or how do you call that? And it was so interesting for me, because to be honest, she was doubting in 100% in my business competence, in my business skills, in my business plan, in my product strategy, in my skill set on actually judging the market. It was like I was ripped, right? So, and in the end, they didn't fund me. And in the end, to be honest, it was my own cash that we put in. So we kind of stripped our entire finances down and put it into the business. We got friends and families to invest initially, because nobody would ever at that point would give me money. And so that is actually, I think it's also a structural problem, to be honest, because I have the feeling like I had like lots of young guy entrepreneur friends, because this is the peer group, obviously, I'm in.
It is.
Like below 30 and no kids and no strings attached. They got funding all the time, by the way.
Great, yeah.
So I'm not, don't judge me for that, but this is just what I perceive. Everybody had funding.
Reality.
KfW, they got especially also the institutional funding, like the banks, they rather invested and huge sums at this point with business plans where you just said, okay. But they got it. And so I had the feeling back then it was a little bit biased, to be honest, especially with a profile like me, where, they always like, where does this come from, what you're selling, and like, why do you do this, and what kind of competence do you have? You don't have a track record in this. And so I think that's still a big problem. I actually talked to people about it in Berlin the other week, and I think it's really still a problem.
Yeah.
I guess this is a story that you hear often from your sellers, this idea that you go to a classic bank or an institution and say, could I please have some money? And they go like, what do you want? Online retailer scum, something like that.
Yeah. And go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to make a little addition. I'm so sorry. I have to make a little addition because once I had, obviously, success, I went to a bank and they funded me. But next thing you know, yes, this was supposed to be a several-year plan, like with an initial funding, and then actually we go with like a line of credit, and then we would go into a more structural approach after we kind of know how much we would need. And, the strategy changed, so we don't give you any more money. Oh, okay, but this was how I made my business plan in the States, and now you're not? Oh, okay, and now I don't have any working capital. So this is, to be honest, it's a very insecure environment when it comes to cash.
Yeah, we're seeing that as well, and especially because you can have start an e-commerce business a year or 2 years ago and already doing millions, right, on marketplaces. You can go that fast. Yeah. Right. And the difficulty is if banks or more like the traditional players in the market, if you don't have that track record, it will be really difficult to get funding. And if you get it, and if you're already at the size that you're doing millions a year on marketplaces and you might get a 50K loan, that's not going to move the needle for you. Right. And that's probably where they're going to start out with. And that's not going to do anything. Like you're almost like on a Black Friday, you're probably doing that in a day. Right. So that's not going to help you. And besides that, typically when people start looking for, or businesses start looking for cash and liquidity, you need it now, right? Or you need it in a week, or you need it in 2 weeks. You don't need it in 3 months. So go through lengthy application processes. By that time, right, you would have needed it already. And I think that's where businesses like Storfund, the fintechs out there come into play, because it's quick, it's easy, it's flexible. And that's where there's a big gap in the market.
So how does it really work, like in particular, Joep? I started my Amazon business, and now I see, wow, it's running quite well. And now I need some funding because I cannot meet the guy. I mean, I cannot afford to buy a next charge. How does it work?
Yeah. So what every e-commerce business out there will notice is that as you start growing, the balance on your marketplace account will keep growing as well. At any given time, there will always be money stuck on the marketplace account that you can have access to. Now, what we do is it's pretty straightforward. So whatever you sell and ship today, we pay you the next. Right. So instead of waiting on the marketplace to pay you out, we simply pay you 80% of whatever you ship and sell on the day, the next day. So that's in short what we do. Whatever is on your marketplace account as well on day one, we fund 80% of that too. So we basically put a lump sum of money on day one into your pocket, and every day after it's daily liquidity instead of getting paid once every 2 weeks or once every month.
Okay, and what is with the other 20%?
Yeah, so the other 20%, that's what we pay out when the marketplace pays out. Right. Okay. So we take 80% as a bit of a buffer on the 100%, but we pay the 20% when the marketplace actually pays out. Yeah.
Okay. And how often are you using this kind of financing, and what are you using it for? Is that now, I heard from your introduction before that you're using it highly to push your business in the US, but is that something that you do like on a regular basis, or just for some products, or in certain times, for example, before Black Week or stuff like that? So what's your strategy there?
No, I use it on a regular basis because, as I said, we grew so much that, and as I said, also in the US, I don't have working capital yet. And when we actually, and we more or less doubled within the year in the US, and in order to serve that growth, whenever we decided to go for that growth, and I found out, I was actually in touch with my US bank for working capital there. And then I found out, I'm based in Nevada. Nobody told me that. I'm based in Nevada. when you're based in Nevada, being a foreign resident, they will not fund you just because of this constellation again. So you find out these things, and then you need to pivot. What do we do, right?
What's about Nevada?
Well, it is like Wyoming, Delaware, and Nevada. I like highly. They are favored by a lot of international entrepreneurs because you don't have to be there. You don't have to be there for any what's the name in English? Gesellschafterbeschlüsse, resolutions. So you don't have to actually be there in person. So that makes it very easy. And the privacy, you will never. So in Nevada, I think it's the same, and also in Wyoming, I'm not sure about Delaware, but it's about like how private is actually the actual shareholder of the company. So that means the traceability and also the accountability for like whatever happens in the business is very low. And so talking about working capital, well, I did not know that. So, and I actually bought this company from somebody, and so it was in Nevada. Now then we moved to Texas, and stuff like this needs to happen. It's lots of bureaucracy, and you have to find solutions. But I'm using StoreFund right now on a regular basis because it's just one very good option for the United States to actually manage my cash flow. Yeah.
And how did you find out about StoreFund? How did you find them?
Yeah, the desperation for solutions, I would say. No, I can say, it's still not very known. I don't know that many people that use it. And I think, it's like with everything, right? There are ups and downs. But in this case, for me, it's actually a pure up story because I would have had severe issues in my growth if I wouldn't have used it. So, so some might argue, when you look at on an absolute percentage of how expensive the funding is, yes, you could argue that there are cheaper options, but are they available? No. And so you always have to kind of, I think in the end, like how much growth will you finance with whatever you get? And I think this is a big part of my philosophy that I want to grow fast and grow more, and this is how I did it. Yeah.
And also what I heard from other entrepreneurs like FBA sellers, they were also like, I could grow a lot, but liquidity is a huge problem for me. And that's actually the bottleneck. So you need to find a solution first for the bottleneck.
What Anne told us how she's using your service and how she's using financing on a regular basis, and calling herself, a risky kind of a type of entrepreneur who's not afraid to just dive into stuff. Is that the typical entrepreneurship that you encounter in your customers, or do you have different kind of scenarios in which retailers use your service?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of different types of entrepreneurs, right? And I think if we're talking about, you mentioned the name or the word bottleneck a couple of times as well. I always like to think that if you have the opportunity, you should tap into liquidity before it turns into a bottleneck, right? Because that's typically where you come into a situation of need, of desperation. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, at that moment in time, it actually gets more and more difficult to find working capital, right? Because it needs to be quick, you're rushed, it actually needs to be something that you need to survive, right? So a lot of businesses out there, they come to us at a point in need, and we always try and, I think, work with them, but also explain to them, if you can forecast the cash in, cash out on a monthly basis. And this is, I'm not saying it's always easy, but in the simplest form, if you know what's going out, if you know what's coming in, then you can come to a solution like us a couple months in advance, right? Instead of coming to the situation that you're actually in desperate need of the money. And that's where you can use it for growth. But you're also knocking on a door to get working capital in a very healthy situation, instead of in a situation that you might not be in a very good spot anymore. Typically, the business that come to us are already growing on their own, right? And that's something that we like as well. We don't necessarily need to be, and I think working capital shouldn't necessarily be something that you tap into to turn around the business or to help survive the business, right? Working capital should be there to help you accelerate growth, growth that you already achieving on your own. And at that moment in time, if you can tap into a service like ours that shortens your cash cycle, then you can really accelerate. And then you can really, really turn into, I'd say, well, achieve the goals that you've set out to achieve at the beginning of the year.
So where can I use your service? So, I mean, like Amazon is pretty clear. Is there any other marketplaces I could use it, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's well, the timing of this is actually really great because we've integrated and partnered with our 50th marketplace just last week.
50th.
The 50th, yeah. So 50. Right. So Amazon is, of course, a very big one and known one out there. And I'm not going to name them all 50 of them. It will be a nice challenge if I can name them all. But no. And the 50th is actually one that, and again, Ann and Valerie, you've posted about the Dutch marketplace landscape. I think even today, the 50th was Bol. Right? Wow. So I am, of course, as a Dutchie, I'd say, well aware of the fact that Bol is still by far the number one marketplace out there. I think they've touched upon, is it 5-6 billion in GMV, and that's just mainly from buyers in the Netherlands and Belgium. And we're not a massive country, right? So it only goes to show how many people are buying products still from there, and not so much from the likes of Amazon, Temu, and other Asian players out there. But yeah, we're on 50 marketplaces, and that continues to evolve consistently. It's not necessarily a goal on its own, but as we grow, we have a lot of sellers that sell on Amazon, and then they come with the question, hey, for instance, I'm starting on Walmart, right? Can you do it on Walmart? So that's when we also start investigation. Of course, Walmart is a very big known marketplace in the US. So that is something that we're looking into and hoping to also go live with in later this year. But we're constantly adding marketplaces as a business. Yeah.
I think what's interesting too, because this is what I'm like, one of my next things is going to be is TikTok Shop in the US. And I've heard stories there of sellers where actually even StoreFund employees said, or former employees said, if I see this every day, I'm like going to get into TikTok Shop because it's just so crazy what's happening there sometimes. So, and I think especially that kind of velocity, I dove into product categories which are like maybe surrounding mine, and there are like sales. I don't know. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Like body care sales where you sell like through influencers like almost 1 million units.
Yeah. It's crazy. So we're
per month, by the way, per month.
Yeah. And especially in the US. So we're an embedded partner if it comes to providing capital to sellers on TikTok Shop in the US. So we have a bit of visibility, I'd say, on the growth that sellers are achieving on TikTok Shop, and it's incredible. It's incredible. There are businesses out there in month 3 or 4 that are already hitting 500,000 or 1 million plus in GMV. So the opportunity is immense. It's completely different, I'd say, in the way to sell on Amazon, for instance, than on TikTok Shop. So it's a different beast on its own. But it's an opportunity that is there, that is still fast growing. So I definitely advise everyone to look at it and make sure you get on it.
Well, let's just see how long is it still called TikTok Shop in the US. I just read yesterday that I think Perplexity is trying to buy it in the US. So let's
it's going to be some kind of solution that will serve this kind of shopping behavior.
I guess there would be someone from the US, some US company who's going to take it over and use it. But yeah, that's definitely.
I'll stay away from speculating.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't speculate on who, but I guess something will happen there. Yeah, I have to look a bit at the time, but Anne, I'd like to pose one final question to you because you've been so refreshingly honest and open about everything in your business. So, do you have a fuck-up story for us when it comes to financing decisions? Is there anything you say like, okay, I shouldn't have done that?
Well, the big fuck up was the insert. That was my biggest fuck up, to be honest. Okay. But that's not really a financing decision, to be honest. I mean, the way I approached the US, I think it's not a fuck up, but it's I would say it was a very challenging decision on how actually am I entering the US market? Am I doing this bootstrapping, like lean, as in I put in there like one listing and then we will see what's happening, or are we going to go all in? And I decided that I would go all in. And
seems to be a bit of a topic for you.
It's
going all in.
Like I said, this is right. Like either do it all, or do it go right on. How was I going to say? Hop on top. No, but but you succeed with that, and but there are obviously risks to it. And one product where I thought we would have a higher potential. There I have too much inventory in the United States right now, and it's sitting there. And this is just sad, because it's stuck there, right? And so selling it off, it's actually also quite hard because the market is not there. I mean, it's not huge, but this is a minor fuck up. So, it's not a huge fuck up because well, obviously I can still sell it off. But I think like when you expand into a marketplace like that, there are side effects and collateral aspects to it where you just have to kind of expect that not everything is going smoothly right after plan. So, yeah.
Hey, I have one last question to Joep. If I see now, okay, I really need your service, where can I get it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the easiest answer is on our website. I'm happy to put my contact details wherever we can put it. But no, it's if you go to our website, which is storefund.com, right, you can find information, you can apply. If you apply, you can get an offer within an hour time, which doesn't obligate you to anything, but we can show you exactly what the funding could enable you to do, and we can tell you exactly what the fee structure would look like for you using our solution. So I can only tell everyone, if you're interested in learning a little bit more, apply now, and my team will get back to you in like an hour time to basically follow up.
Okay, yeah, great. And we will also write it down in the show notes, obviously.
Great.
Right. Okay, I guess then for
maybe
today,
one last thought on financing, because I think one aspect that everyone and maybe they know about it, but they don't leverage enough. And what was my biggest growth factor in the last year is that I actually renegotiated with my supplier on my payment terms. This is like one of the biggest factors you could ever have as as an entrepreneur in e-commerce, that actually you shorten the cash conversion cycle massively when you actually just pay after you ship, like X amount of days, the maximum amount of days you can ever negotiate, and probably not make a down payment. That already helps a lot, because you then only finance so much of the sales period. And obviously you can purchase more when you are on a growth path. So that is something that is also an instrument that people need to be aware of, and that just always tackle and question their terms with their suppliers.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is something that you can't really stress enough, this kind of negotiations. That helps out. Right, the two of you. Thank you very much for your insights today into this juicy topic on financing and how to get it, and how difficult it still is for online retailers, unfortunately. Right. Thanks for joining us, and I hope it was interesting for you to listen to. If you want to join us again next week, as I say, we're going to have Timo as a topic there, and how to sell on them. Yeah, and apart from that, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, follow us, comment, everything.
Meet us at our events.
Yeah, meet us at the events next week, for example, in Berlin. And then we'll hear and hopefully see each other again soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You listen to Let's Talk Marketplace,
the Marketplace podcast with Ingrid Lommer and Valerie Dichtel.